Now, could it be that society is now realizing that they were wrong? Well, you know what? No, okay, let me rephrase that. That they went overboard. What's going on, guys? Your boy RedpillCanuck back again with another YouTube video. Shout out to the Canuck Squad for being involved and being active on this YouTube channel. And of course, today's episode is sponsored by www.redpillcanuck.com. That's right, the Red Pill Canuck Daily Pill, where we get all our news articles and all that fun stuff. And home of our latest addition to our lineup, Dear RPC, where you, the viewer, write in to get your questions answered, professional answered by non-professional people. I mean, trained professionals. And of course, it's for entertainment purposes only. And if you're listening on our alternative platforms, shout out to everybody on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Make sure you check out my YouTube channel. Hit the like and subscribe button on the way in. Now, today's episode is going to be a touchy subject. A touchy subject to a point where we have to put our disclaimer up even before we start talking about the topic. But I'm going to read the title of today's episode, and then we're going to put up our disclaimer right after. Pandemic, or Plandemic as we call it here, Amnesty. Should we let bygones be bygones? Yes, there's such a thing now as Plandemic Amnesty. So it looks like some people are raising the white flag and saying, you know what? Things were done, but let's bury the hatchet. That being said, let us put up our good old disclaimer. Disclaimer, there we go. Viewer discretion is advised for today's episode. We promote no hate or harm here at the Red Pill Canuck channel of your life choices, how you want to live your life, your sex, gender, financial, race, creed, you name it. We support everybody here, and we show no hate or harm. If you're poked, not poked, if you're pro-plandemic, pre-plandemic, whatever you want to be, we love you all here, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, this article actually came out on Halloween, good old Halloween. So it is a little bit of a dated article. And I debated if I should actually cover this because I did find it interesting. But at the same time, is it too soon? Is it really too soon to talk about this? Can I talk about this online without having my video flagged or taken down? Can I? So I stepped back. I basically thought about it. I said, you know what? Maybe I should just, not do it. Then I said maybe I should do it. But this video came out today. Or not today. This video came out actually a few weeks ago. So I figure the coast is clear. Now let's roll the film. Now this video ended up setting the internet ablaze. Ablaze, I tell you. This divided the interweb. The last time I seen this was during pandemic time. But let us roll the film. Believe it or not, I actually had to censor this video. I had to censor it because it got taken down. So I literally had to go and edit it in order to play it for you guys. And again, viewer discretion. Let us roll the film.
Are you feeling tired and worn down? Sick of the endless grind at work? Exhausted by your family, desperate for some peace and quiet?
Daniel! Your kids want you!
Then ask your doctor about COVID. By simply getting COVID, you're guaranteed a 5 and sometimes even 10-day vacation from all of life's problems.
Now you see why I got the green light. SNL is apparently poking fun at what was gone through for the past 2 years. Now, there's different schools of thoughts on this video. By the way, we have to put up our fair use, good old fair use. Expert to copyrighted material may under circumstances be quoted verbatim for the purpose of teaching, reporting, research without permission or payment from the copyright holder. Now, I should have played that before, but it's okay. Shout out to SNL. Now, a lot of people had issues with this video. And I get that. This is what divided the interweb. But let us continue here. Let's see what this video has to say.
A break, just some time away from everyone. So my doctor suggested I get COVID, and it was the greatest week of my life.
All I wanted was to sit on the good part of the couch and watch the Netflix I want to watch. And I was finally able to, thanks to COVID.
At first, I was worried about getting COVID, but my doctor assured me it's fine now. I'm triple that. Quadruple if you count HPV. So it's my time to shine.
Side effects of COVID include having COVID, which is still kind of bad, but doesn't it seem different now?
Now you see why people were in their feelings on this video. Yeah. Let me know in the comments if you think this video was too soon. Me personally, I thought the video was humorous. It did poke fun, and it did raise a point. But we're going to let the film roll a little bit more. By the way, I have to interject every few seconds, because sometimes fair use doesn't work and sometimes copyright kicks in. So that's why I'm not playing it in its entirety. But anyway, continuing. Oh, hello there. Well, as you can see, we only can play part of the SNL skit. Reason being because YouTube was blocking the video. So if you want to see the full skit, check out my social media handles. Check out Instagram and good old Twitter, and I will have the full skit posted on there. Now let's get back to the video. Now, a lot of people had issues with this video. I get it. But the things they were saying in the video, they weren't wrong. They weren't lying. And ironically, if you actually, in hindsight, look back 2 years, isn't this what actually it does seem like? Like, I saw this a mile away, like even during the world's timeout. Basically, the world was grounded. You know, when for everybody who has kids out there, you know, when your kids misbehave and you put them on timeout, for y'all don't want to discipline your kids and give them the spanks, you want to basically put them on timeout. Does that ever work? Guys, does timeout ever work for y'all?
Nope.
But basically, the government, the good old government, ended up putting the world on timeout. To basically put people at this here. Now, we're going to play this here. We're not really going to fair use this one because this is going to be very short. By shout out to WION News. They have a big following, by the way. Shout out to them. Let us roll the film again.
All the stories of doom and gloom, here is something that will lift your spirits up. Italy is currently under a complete lockdown, but quarantined Italians decided to entertain themselves by playing some music from their balconies. Take a look.
This is what we went through, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. Grown people, grown adults, treated like children, locked in their houses. Now, this article came out, like I said, and I decided, you know what, maybe I should just let it go. But SNL opened the door. Shout out to SNL. They opened the door on this. Now, could it be that society is now realizing that they were wrong? Well, you know what? No, okay, let me rephrase that. That they went overboard. I think they went overboard. And it looks like now they also believe they went overboard. Because we got this, something called Plandemic Amnesty. Now, this article was actually written by individual Emily Oster. Shout out to her. This was actually in the Atlantic magazine. Shout out to Atlantic. And this is actually on her, this is basically her perspective. This is what she went through, her thoughts. So, shout out to her. Now let's get into the article. In April 2020, nothing else to do, my family took an enormous number of hikes. We all wore cloth masks we made ourselves. Now, I'm not ragging on people with masks. I'm not one of those people. And again, the disclaimer is up. In this episode, I am not going to be giving my personal opinion. Well, yeah, I will be giving my personal opinion. But it's not going to be what you think. I'm not going to say mask, unmask, pokety-poke, unpokety-poke. Whatever you want to do with your life, it's your choice. Because whatever repercussions, either way, you have to live with it. That's all I'm going to say. But I never understood the concept of cloth masks. Now, there actually was a test going on back in timeout days. We're going to call it timeout days. To ensure if your face covering was adequate to, quote unquote, protect you. What you would do is you would wear it and try to blow out a candle. If you can blow out a candle, then you ain't protected because obviously air is going in and out. This never ended well. Because cloth has holes. It has little micron holes where and even moisture could get through it. So that never made any sense, but it is what it is. Whatever you choose to do. Some people were actually wearing 3 of these. I don't know. But anyway, we had a family signal, which a person in front would use if someone was approaching the trail, and we needed to put our masks on. Now, I never understood this either. You're outside. They were saying it was airborne, but it never really made any sense to me because what are the chances you're going to get it airborne? Unless everybody had it. But anyway, it is what it is. Non-medical advice. Once, when another child got too close to my then 4-year-old son on a bridge, he yelled at her, social distancing. And y'all think it didn't affect kids, eh? Kids weren't affected by this. Kids didn't know what's going on. You have a 4-year-old yelling social distancing, and he probably doesn't even know what social distancing is. Let alone say social distancing. That's a big word for a 4-year-old to say. So instead of teaching your kids ABCs and 1, 2, 3s and the cat in the hat, you're teaching them the word social distancing. Ah, boy. These precautions were totally misguided. Yeah, realize that now, eh? In April 2020, no one got the COVID from passing someone else hiking. Outdoor transmission was vanishingly rare, of course, because it's outside. Our cloth face coverings made out of old bandanas wouldn't have done anything anyway. But the thing is, we didn't know. That's your excuse? That's your excuse. I remember when people would ridicule other people for not wearing a face covering. When they were outside in their cars by themselves. I'm telling you. Anyway, let's continue. But, and again, I'm not pro face covering or anti face covering. Whatever you want to do, go and do it. As long as you're not hurting anybody, and as long as you're not infringing and pushing your views and actions on other people. And that was actually done a lot. And I'm telling you a lot, and probably some of you out there probably experienced this ridicule because of your choice. Let me know in the comments below. I have been reflecting on the lack of knowledge thanks to a class I'm co-teaching at Brown's University on COVID. So you're telling me you're teaching this in school? Is this why our tuition is going up? Y'all taking stupid classes that make no damn sense. That's why you're running into debt. Instead of taking classes that's going to reflect your overall professional employment career, y'all taking classes on COVID, even though you lived through it. Bruh. I don't know what to say about you people. Anyway. We spent several lectures reliving the first year of the Plandemic, discussing the many important choices we had to make under conditions of tremendous uncertainty. Now, I get that. None of us knew what was going on. But the thing is, though, we as humans, we are supposed to be the predominant species. Well, most of us are. Some of you are pretty much out to lunch. But we're supposed to be the predominant species. So, humans, their main positive characteristic is problem solving. Out of every species on Earth, humans are able to problem solve. They see an issue, we solve it. This definitely was not done during this time. I have never seen so much chaos and trial and error from people that we pay to be in the positions that they're in, and they had no idea what they were doing. Now, I understand it was an uncertain time. I get that. None of us has seen this in our lifetime, a situation like this. I get that. I understand that. But you have elected individuals and quote unquote top medical professionals that's only job is to research and to figure out different tactics to not only protect, but have a plan when something like this happens. Now, did they do their job?
Nope.
They basically mostly caused chaos the way I see it. And here's the thing. Now, again, I get there was a lot of uncertainty. Now, in hindsight, what they should have done, and I mentioned this even during the world's timeout, if you don't know something, be honest. Now, in hindsight, these guys, they didn't know what was going on. And of course, they got a lot of backlash for it when they tried to enforce whatever they wanted to do, what they thought was right. Not that was right. What they, good old they, thought was right. And of course, that failed miserably. Now, you wouldn't have got so, in my opinion, you wouldn't got so much, allegedly, I have to put alleged there, wouldn't got so much backlash from your citizens if you were honest. If you would have came out and said, okay, we've never faced something like this before in our lifetime. We're going to try this and see if this works. We don't know, but we're hoping this would work or will work or minimize the transmission. If you would have been honest, I am almost certain, allegedly, that people would have not only respected what you were doing, but would have been on board. Because we were all in the same boat. We were all going through the same issue. To a point where you had to put the world on timeout. Now, the issue is, though, however, you pretended like you knew what you were doing. Oh, yeah, we know what we're doing. We're going to do this. Or we're going to do that. And did it work? No. So you were basically making your citizens guinea pigs on what you think was going to work. So obviously, people are not going to trust y'all because you made people believe you knew what you were doing. If you were honest right off the bat, then people would have been more understanding. But that's just my take, allegedly. Some of these choices turned out better than others. To take an example close to my own work, this is emerging, not universal. Consensus that schools in the U.S. were closed for too long. Do you think? Of course the schools were closed for too long. And then check this out, guys. The health risk in school spread were relatively low, whereas the cost to students' well-being and education progress were high. Now, I never agreed with the school closures, honestly. Like, I understand we have to protect our children. I get that. But when you see transmission is low, then why do you shut down the school? you actually cause more harm than good in hindsight. Because not only y'all kids can't add now, they're suffering from anxiety, they're suffering from ridicule, because here's the deal. You want kids to do online learning. Okay. But what about the kids that can't afford iPads or computers? Now their friends know that they're poor, that they can't afford it. They can't come to class because they don't have it. Now, I know everybody's financial situation is different, but because you closed up the schools and assumed, and again, the spread was low, you assumed that every child is in the same financial situation. You assume that. You know what they say when you assume? My OG people will know what that means, but I'll break it down for all you Gen Z people. When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. So you assume that these kids were all in the same financial situation, that sure, let's do online learning. Yeah, and you wonder why they're going through the issues they are today. Anxiety. They can't add, they can't read at their level. They're behind. Pause. Anyway, the latest figures on learning loss are alarming. Of course. So that's what I said. But in spring and summer of 2020, we had only glimmers of information. Reasonable people who cared about children and teachers advocated on both sides of the reopening debate. So, your reason behind closing the schools or your excuse is because you only had glimmers of information? Is that the excuse we're going with? Really? Okay. Now, before I mention about this next heading here, now, when it came to the okie dokie pokey pokey, my stance has always been, and even until today, because people actually came up to me. They asked me, because nobody knew what to do. They never put in a position where they're going to lose their job, their livelihood, their way to put food on the table for their families. Like, basically, that's what they were done. They were held hostage to either take this or put food on the table for their families. Now, I think that was outright wrong. But when people came up and asked me, should I take it or shouldn't I take it? My answer has always been and still is the same. You do what you think is best for you. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, the last thing I want on my conscience is if I gave wrong information to somebody. Now, like everybody in the world at that time, even now, I don't know. I'm not a trained professional. Even medical professionals don't even know. Ask a doctor. Ask a doctor what about information. You know what they're going to tell you? A lot of them don't even know. They're reading off a script, but that's allegedly. Case in point, though, when people used to ask me, I say, you do what you think is best. You do your research, because whatever information is out there, you separate the ish from the bullish, and you do what's best for you. I've always said that. So, I'm not talking about anti-pokers or pro-pokers. It is what it is. Whatever you think is best for you and your family, that's up to you. Because again, I didn't know either. But let us continue. and we have to speak in code here, like we always do when it comes to certain stuff. So the funny thing is that y'all want amnesty, but we got to speak in code on social media. Tell me how that makes sense. Oh, we're going to get into more stuff, trust me. When Pokey Pokes came out, they lack definite data on relative effectiveness of the J&J Pokey Poke versus the mRNA option of Pfizer and Moriana. Yes, I have to even code their names as well. The mRNA Pokey Poke have won out. But at the time, many people in the public health were either neutral or expressed that J&J's preference. This misstep was nefarious. It was a result of uncertainty. Now, let me not comment. I'm not going to comment on this. I'm so tempted to, but I'm biting on my tongue. Obviously, some people intended to mislead or made wildly irresponsible claims. Now, I know what they're going at here, and I know who they're targeting. Now, let us be fair here. Like I said, we're going to hurt a lot of feelings today. We're going to get a lot of people pissed off today. But fact is fact. We are being fair on both sides of the spectrum here. You want amnesty? You want to let bygones be bygones? You're going to have to hear both sides. Now, when they're saying irresponsible claims, I know what they're talking about, but there is irresponsible claims on both sides of the spectrum. You had people saying that, okay, this is good for you, this is going to work. Then you had people saying, no, it's not going to work, don't take it. Again, this had to do with personal choice, which is why I personally never got involved in this. But when they're talking about misleading, they're talking about everything in general. Now, again, I always advise you do what you think is right. So trying to pin irresponsible claims on one side is not only shuffling, but it's also irresponsible, actually, to say one side is wrong and one side is right. Both sides were wrong, the way I see it. Both sides were wrong. Remember when the public health community had to spend a lot of time and resources urging Americans not to inject themselves with bleach? Now, there we go. Now, here's the thing. We all know where this came from, and I know what they're saying. But not a lot of people actually did this as they said they did. A few people did, but it wasn't widespread. Because if it was widespread, then more people would have been deleted because of this than COVID itself. Of course, you had some people doing nonsense. But urging, like spend a lot of time and resources to tell people not to do this. All you had to do, this is social media. All you have to do is just put a tweet out. The same way a tweet came out from good old Lysol. Anyway. This was bad. Misinformation was and remains a huge problem. And again, on both sides, let's be fair. But most errors were made by people who are working in the earnest for the good of society. Now I'm going to read this again. Errors were made by people who were working in the earnest for the good of society. Who does that sound like? Who does that sound like? Now, I'm not going to mention, but we all know. Given the amount of uncertainty, almost every position was taken on every topic. when on every topic, someone was eventually proven right and someone else was proven wrong. Okay. In some instances, the right people were right for the wrong reasons. That sounds like you're shuffling there, ma'am. How does that work? Please elaborate. In other instances, they had a precedent understanding of the information available. Yeah. The people who got it right for whatever reason may want to gloat. No. Me personally, I wouldn't gloat. And nor should anybody else gloat. Because this thing was handled wrong. No matter what your stance is on this, it was definitely a clown show. Now, the thing is, we as humans are better than this. We are supposed to be active problem solvers. And we couldn't handle this? Are you kidding me? Y'all had to put the world on timeout because what you're paid to do, you couldn't do. You had one job. One job. One high-paying job. And y'all couldn't get that right, eh? Yeah, no answer. Anyway. Those who got it wrong for whatever reason may feel defensive, retrench into the position that doesn't accord with the facts. All this gloating and defensiveness continues to gobble up a lot of social energy and to drive culture wars, especially on the interweb. These discussions are heated, unpleasant, and ultimately unproductive. You're realizing this 2.5 years after the fact? Bruh. Are you kidding me now? And similarly, actually, no, sorry. I missed. Oh, there we go. In the face of so much uncertainty, getting something right had a hefty element of luck. What? Luck? You're calling it luck? And similarly, getting something wrong wasn't a moral failing. Treating Plandemic choices as a scorecard on which some people racked up more points than others is preventing us from moving forward. Well, you know why? Do you know why? Because you assume that you were right from the beginning. Nobody was right. Even the people today, and again, I'm not taking sides here, but the way this was handled and continued to be handled was done wrong. Ridiculing for people's choices. Now, and I had this debate with somebody before. The men and women of the military who died, who got deleted, put their lives on the line for the freedom that we have today. The freedom of choice. The freedom of expression. It was made a mockery because of this. What's the use having a freedom of choice if you're forced to do something that you're not comfortable with? And I'm talking about both sides. I'm not just talking about one. I'm talking about both sides. You had people that were ridiculed, families broken, people divorced, people unemployed because they didn't want to take a certain okey pokey poke. And then on the flip side, you had people ridiculed, embarrassed, criticized for taking the pokey-poke. Honestly, I don't know what's wrong with society. Whatever happened to freedom of choice? Because when you go against freedom of choice and freedom of speech, you're literally saying that the people that got deleted to have the freedoms that you have today, their lives were taken for no reason. They fought for you to have these choices. And not only to have these choices taken from you, but be ridiculed for the choice that you make, that's a definite L. Definite L. Now let's continue. We have put these fights aside and we have to put these fights aside and declare a Plandemic amnesty. Now, I could easily say something here, but I'm not going to. But usually when someone, and this is not about this is in general. Usually when someone is losing a fight, they want bygones to be bygones. That's just my opinion. Take it as you want. That's just my opinion, allegedly. We can leave out the willful purveyors of actual misinformation while forgiving the hard calls that people had no choice but to make with imperfect knowledge. Now, here's an example. LA County closed its beaches in 2020 in the summer. Ex post facto, this makes no sense. More than families masking up during hiking trips. But we need to learn from our mistakes and then let them go. That's your solution. We need to forgive the attacks too, because I thought schools were supposed to reopen and argue that kids as a group were not high risk. I was a teacher deleter. And I'm not going to mention that word, but you get what I'm saying. Genocidaire, whatever that means. It wasn't pleasant, but feelings were high. And I certainly don't want to deceit and rehash the time for the rest of my days. So that's what that's your stance. Seriously, that is your stance. So here's the thing. We need to learn from our mistakes and let it go. So what about the people that got laid off from their jobs because they didn't want to do something? What about the families that were broken up because of something? What about the divorce? What about the domestic violation? Now, there's actually an article here. Do I have the article? Yes, I do. The Plandemic is increasing intimate partner violence. And this actually was a study done. And it says and I'm just going to skim through it really quick here because this is more about more of a promotional thing, but it did have some information on it. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violation, nearly 20 people per minute were physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. Intimate partner violence accounts to 15% of violent crimes in the U.S. Approximately 1 of 4 women and 1 of 9 men experience intimate partner violence. And this actually increased during the Plandemic. And it says right here, according to the Journal of Emergency Medicine, domestic violation cases increased by 25 to 33% globally. Globally. Not just in the U.S., globally in 2020. At the local level, domestic violation calls increased by 27% in March of 2020 compared to March of 2019. This trend continued in other cities around the U.S., including Portland, San Antonio, and New York. So are we going to just forgive and forget about this? The divorces, the job loss, are we just going to forget about it? Are we just going to sit back and just say, okay, let bygones be bygones?
Nope.
What about compensation for those individuals? Can you turn back time? Can you turn back time in your time machine?
Nope.
Of course not. Anyway, moving on. And ironically, it says moving on. Moving on is crucial now because the pandemic created many problems that we still need to solve. You think? Student test scores have shown historic declines, more so in math than reading. Like I said, y'all kids can read and write and do math now because of this. And of course, you're blaming the kids. No, you should all blame yourselves. You should all blame yourselves. More so, students were disadvantaged at the start. Again, they were disadvantaged because they didn't have the proper equipment. Some people can't afford computers and iPads. We need to collect data, experiment, and invest. In high doses tutoring, less cost effective than extension school years. Why have some states recovered faster than others? We should focus on questions like these because answering them is how we help our children recover. No, they're not going to recover that way. They're not going to recover that easy. Now, a lot of people don't, even you parents, some of y'all don't realize that when kids are at a certain age, they remember situations for the rest of their lives. Like, for example, if a kid witnesses domestic violation, not only that affects their well-being and how they're going to progress in life, it also impacts, and it has a bad memory. Now, something like this, by having the world's time out, they're going to be affected by this, not only academically, but mentally. They were isolated from their friends. Now, what a lot of these kids, these certain growing years, is when they interact with other children. You build bonds, memories. It forms your social aspect. How the hell can you form a social aspect staring at a frickin' iPad? Or online gaming? Or screaming from a balcony and singing like these people here? How the hell can you be social? You see this child here? You see this child here? This whole thing that happened is going to affect this child. It's going to affect them mentally for the rest of their lives. So you're just talking about how to help them recover? They're not going to recover anytime soon just because of tutoring. I'm telling you that. Many people have neglected their health care over the past few years. Again, y'all want to protect people to keep them healthy, but people who needed life-saving surgeries or treatments were put on the back burner for something you did not know about. Bruh. I'm telling you, this thing was handled wrong. Notably, routine pokey-pokes rates for children, for example, measles, were way down. So the stuff that you knew about, you didn't give them, but the stuff you didn't know about, you gave them. Let that make sense. Rather than debating the role of messaging about COVID, pokey pokes, had this decline, we need to put all the energy on bringing these rates back up. Pediatricians and public health officials need to work together on community outreach, and good old politicians will need to consider school mandates. The Standard saying, okay, then we're pretty much done here. The Standard saying is those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. But dwelling on mistakes of history can lead to a repetitive doom loom as well. Let's acknowledge that we made complicated choices in the face of a deep uncertainty and then try to work together to build back and move forward. So basically, you did all this damage and you want to just forget about it? No, I don't take this as an apology. I don't. Some of you may want to let bygones be bygones. Fine. That's your choice. But what about the people that lost their jobs? Are they getting their jobs back? Are they going to get their jobs back?
Nope.
Are they going to get their back pay back?
Nope.
Are they going to get their marriage back?
Nope.
What about the mental damage? Are you going to be able to fix that?
Nope.
Of course not. Then this whole thing is a joke. This is a joke. This is worse than saying anything. You are better off just leaving it be than coming out with this. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you seriously, like, are you serious about this? And then you have SNL, you have good SNL come out with this here. You have him come up with this. Hold on a second. You have him come up with this. Like, I don't know what to say about you guys, honestly. This is basically Hollyweird stating that, you know what? Let's forget about the 2.5 years. Let bygones be bygones. We didn't mean it. Well, sorry, not sorry. Now, here's the deal. Now, if you really want to, have some amnesty, let me get that off the screen there. Why not open the borders again? Now, here's the funny thing I found very interesting. Now, in Canada here, in order to come into Canada, proof of pokey poke is actually no longer required as of October the 1st. So, shout out to Canada on that. They're getting semi back to normal. It's never going to be normal again, the way I see it, honestly. Allegedly, this is just my take. The damage is done. The only thing we could do is move on from it, but we can't forget it. We can't forgive. It's already been done. But anyway, but at least Canada is a little bit more progressive, ironically, that they're not requiring the pokey poke proof no more as of October the 1st of this year, 2022. But y'all in the U.S. have to hold on. You have to hold on to the nonsense because you're still requiring it. And not only that, you're also, based on what I was trying to find the article, but y'all want boosters now too? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Because actually it does say here that find out when you can get your boosty boost. Now, there was an article that stated where it said that you actually, in order to enter the U.S., you also need all your shots plus the boosty boost. Now, I wasn't able to find that because that was kind of privileged information. We're just going to leave it at that. But it actually says right here, it does kind of indirectly say that you do need the boosty boost. But it does talk about actually needing all your pokey pokes in order to get into the country. Now, if you want to have this so-called amnesty and you want to let things go, then the first step, in my opinion, is to do what us in Canada did and just let people travel. If you really want to protect your country from this COVID, just have them test before they go. That's what a lot of employers were doing for the past 2.5 years. Instead of forcing you to take something you weren't comfortable with and where people lost their jobs for something that wasn't even, anyway, let's not get into it. Just test them. That's my opinion. Just test them. Or don't even require it anymore. Because based on what I'm seeing here, and based on what I'm seeing with SNL here, based on what I'm seeing here, it looks like it's not as serious as they assumed. So we went through all of this nonsense for nothing. For nothing. That's the way it looks. But anyway, I just thought this was very, very interesting. And she looks happy, doesn't she? Well, she ain't bad, to be fair. I think she's new on SNL. I think she's new. She is flat-backed. And y'all know how I like them flatbacks. Yep. Me like them flatbacks. But anyway, I thought this article was very interesting. And I do get what they're trying to say. Like, I'm going to be fair here. I do get what they're trying to say. But it's not easy just to forget and forgive like that. Like, a lot of people's lives were changed permanently, and the damage can't be reversed. So just saying, okay, you know what? We didn't know, let bygones be bygones, blah, 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 blah. It ain't gonna cut it. It ain't gonna cut it. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We tried to keep this as unbiased as possible. I tried to keep it unbiased as possible as well. So try to keep it unbiased as possible in the comments. But yeah, let me know what your take is. And of course, today's episode was sponsored by good old RedpillCanuck.com, the Daily Pill, where we get all our... And actually, the Daily Pill, the only pill that actually is recommended and soon to be, I don't know, thing by the FDA. I'm kidding. I just had to say it. But basically, yeah, the Red Pill Canuck Daily Pill, where we get all our news articles and whatnot. And of course, we have Dear RPC, where you can write us for advice and we'll give you advice. And that's for entertainment purposes only. Shout out to everybody on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And everybody on YouTube, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the comments section later. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you smash that like button. And to check out our more recent uploads, check here on the top left. And to check out our playlist, check here on the top right. And make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And also check out our Quick Hits channel, which is also located down below for our more bite-sizable content. I'll see you guys in the next one.